The Behind the Book lecture series is made possible by World eBook Library, the world's largest database of portable ebooks for academic research, and the World Heritage Encyclopedia, the world's knowledge at your fingertips.
Sun Tzu said, "Victorious warriors win first and then go to war. Defeated warriors go to war seeking to win." The supreme art of war is to vanquish your enemy without even fighting. In Chinese and Japanese culture, Sun Tzu is so prominent that you could say he almost has a biblical character to him. He was born Sun Wu, somewhere in the middle of the 6th century BC. He is known as Sun Tzu today, which literally means master sun. He was a Chinese general during an unstable period in feudal China. He was sort of a gun for hire, a military contractor, if you will, who would have been hired by a feudal lord to run his army. We know for some certainty that he served in the state of Wu to the Emperor Heilu. He was famous for his maxims on military strategy, and those maxims were eventually collected into the book that we know today as The Art of War.
The Art of War was written specific to a time of rampant civil and political unrest in China.
Any advantage that generals could get in this constant warfare was coveted and valued, and Sun Tzu's maxims became valuable beyond all others.
In Chinese, it's called 孙子兵法, which is like a soldier's methods.
There are only 13 short chapters in the book that we call The Art of War. The chapters are a collection of aphoristic sayings or proverbs. Perhaps Sun Tzu's most famous quote is, "If you know yourself and your enemy, then you will not taste defeat in 100 battles. If you know only yourself but not your enemy, you may win or lose. If you know neither yourself nor your enemy, you will never taste victory."
The original Chinese phrase has been condensed to be a short 8-character adage, 知己知此，百战不殆. If you know yourself and you know your opponent, then you will be able to win any number of battles. And if you know neither, then you will invite chaos and discord frequently.
Warfare was not a test of strength in his view. Warfare was a test of strategy. It didn't necessarily depend upon how strong you were. It depended on how you applied your strength against your opponent's weakness. In Sun Tzu's universe, there was nothing like honorable warfare or gentlemen's fighting. You tricked your opponent. You drew him out when he was weak. You made him run when he was strong. War was a poker game, and poker rests on the ability to bluff well and to manipulate perceptions. You played war just like you played good poker. You kept your face straight and you kept your opponent guessing. Sun Tzu's work, more than anything else, was a meditation upon strategy. To be a successful strategist, he claimed only that you needed to understand the most influential principles of strategy formation. Preparation, material preparation, preparation for a campaign. A second became the terrain upon which you would fight, the weather or the dynamics of heaven, as he sometimes put it in his writing. You had to organize your army into the most advantageous formations that you could. And then there were the principles of command. You had to have the right relationship between officers and soldiers. An army did have to have spirit. There did have to be an element of trust. And if you mastered those principles, you won the day before you stepped on the battlefield. And if you did it well enough, your enemy would know that he was vanquished before the first blow came. Another important way to understand the art of war is to contrast and compare the philosophies of Sun Tzu with the philosophies of one of his famous, more or less contemporaries, Confucius. There are some people who would argue today that really if you're going to understand Eastern culture, you need to understand it not simply as a product of Confucian thought, but Confucian thought with an undercurrent of Sun Tzu.
One of the principles of Confucius in the Analects was the rectification of names. And that meant, a father acting like a father, a son acting like a son, a ruler acting like a ruler. And if everybody acted in accordance with their place in society, society would be at peace and in harmony.
Confucian thought was all about social order. Everybody had a role to play, from the emperor down to the most mundane worker. And peace resulted from everybody following their role with a sense of duty and piety.
So that too implies a certain self-awareness and understanding of this is how I'm supposed to act because this is who I am.
Sun Tzu's response to warfare and the great instability of his age was to say, our job is not to bring peace, our job is to achieve victory by whatever means we can. He advocates deception, which in business and politics has some ethical importance. A true disciple of Sun Tzu just wins to the degree that a society or an industry or maybe even an army dedicates itself to just winning no matter the means or the costs. Well, that's trouble. It is unclear what the immediate response to Sun Tzu's teachings were. We don't even know very much about his battle record. We simply know that his teachings were ultimately successful because we have them. People found his teaching advantageous enough to carry it forward into history. His proverbs are insightful enough to be provocative. But they're proverbs, they're not exhaustive explanations, so they're general enough to be applied almost anywhere in any type of conflictual or competitive situation. And this is one of the key to Sun Tzu's enduring importance in the world today.
In the same way that Sun Tzu in The Art of War encourages knowing yourself, knowing your opponent, in business it behooves any business person or organization to know the market, know your competitors, but also knowing what your capabilities are as well. If you're not good at creating a certain product, then you shouldn't insist on creating that just because the market is demanding it.
Sun Tzu's work is hugely popular in China and Japan and other parts of the Eastern world, and it has been for centuries. More recently, it has become popular in the West. Important historical figures have credited their success in warfare and politics to Sun Tzu's teaching. The famous Tokugawa shogun was an avowed disciple of Sun Tzu, and Sun Tzu's teachings were required reading among the samurai class. Centuries later, the famous German war strategist Clausewitz would say, warfare is the continuation of politics by other means. I think Sun Tzu would have liked this statement.
I would like to think that if Sun Tzu saw the United Nations today, he would be pleased by that, because in the time that he was alive in feudal China, nothing like that existed. There was no diplomacy.
Today, Sun Tzu's teachings are applied in warfare, in business, in politics. Anywhere you find competition, you will probably find somebody quoting Sun Tzu.